So I believe that you guys have heard me say in the past that everything will be tokenized, right? And only because it's more practical. And here's a real good way to articulate how practical that is. Now, the idea of going back to a gold standard makes a lot of sense for a lot of people because all of a sudden you can't completely print money without having something to back it, like gold, for example, or silver, or palladium, something to back that currency, like we used to have before 1971 when we came off the gold standard and we went straight to just fiat. If you look at the time between 71 and now, that's when we've had the most devaluation in the US dollar, at least in our lifetimes. So a gold-backed currency makes sense. However, some people like to buy gold and silver and say, well, you know what, I'm going to preserve my purchasing power. I'm going to preserve my wealth with this. And I understand that, I get that, but it's impractical in terms of day-to-day utilization of it. I mean, even if you're going to walk down the street to grab some groceries, you're going to take a little clump of metal and try to exchange it for those groceries. Good luck. That's kind of not how it really works. So what about international shipments, or you're just buying something from another city in your same country? Are you gonna mail out the lump of gold and then wait for them to receive it? They let you know that, hey man, you're just a little short, you're about an ounce short or whatever, right? It doesn't work. It's impractical. It's easy to steal. It's difficult to verify who really owns what. However, if you tokenize those metals, now you have 24/7, 365 utility, the ability to move it around, pay and get paid, to have value in those terms, in those digital terms, in those fractional terms, internationally, and it'll never sleep. That makes more sense. But with a gold back requirement, right? You got to back what you have. Otherwise, you're just like the Federal Reserve is right now, where they print money out of thin air, or the banking system. They do the same thing with fractional reserve lending. So let's take a good look at this here so you can see what I'm talking about. So Smoke took some time to remind us that not to forget that all precious metals will be tokenized, and he gives us two little charts, and that's really what I want to focus on. All right, guys, I'm going to share this little publication with you, but here's the idea that the financial elites, right, the large financial organizations, governments, they're using this to justify it, and they're making it seem as though they're looking out for you and me, but truthfully, they're looking out for each other, and we know that, but this is the terminology they use, and I want you to read it because it's going to make sense to you in terms of what you and I are going to be able to do also. But don't be fooled by the sound of what is going to be said here, because again, they're just trying to color it in a way that says, oh yeah, they're looking out for the little guy. Nah, they're never looking out for us, but it does help us though. It helps us also. So let's take a quick look at this. I'm going to make this big. Don't laugh at me, guys, but I really do need to kind of magnify this. It's kind of small. So it says their tokenization allows for fractionalization, therefore reducing entry barriers and boosting access to new markets for smaller players. The increased market participation may result in additional market liquidity, which means there's going to be more money flowing around because we're participating, right? The last sentence goes on to say, however, the larger number of market participants would require an evolution from bilateral toward multilateral trades, basically meaning, you just need more people being able to participate globally and being able to fractionalize the value that they hold, whether it's, metals or the currency that they have, because it's okay, the currency will be backed by those metals anyways. To give you an idea of why this is such a big deal, is it's a huge market, unlock, especially for banks in the crypto industry. And to articulate that market lock, here is a visual representation of where we are and where we're headed. There is your cryptocurrency market. We're at 3.2 trillion. Gosh, I don't know, we might even be a little bit less. Let's take a quick look here. Where is we're at 2.59 trillion right now. So this was done a little while back. Of course, we've had that market dip. XRP is sitting right now at about $1.60. I got it for $1.54 earlier today, so bought the dip. Anyways, so here's your gold. Gold is at 35 trillion and global stocks are at 143 trillion. So if you tokenize gold alone, how much more value are you going to throw into crypto? And isn't everybody going to want to be able to tokenize their gold, to utilize it, leverage it in whatever way they want, to earn yield on it? You're going to have to. And it makes sense. Governments, financial institutions, the wealthy elite, you and me, and everybody else and their mothers, right? 24/7, 365, securely, safely, quickly, inexpensively. Boom. I love that idea, transferring that kind of value that quickly. We're just here right now. This is basically, we're testing, right? That's all this is right now. Well, the testing's kind of over. We're doing legislation now just to write out the rules of the road, which means the car is ready to go. We just need to know what are going to be the rules of the road here. How fast can we go? What are the on-ramps, the off-ramps? Those kinds of things, right? So there's your gold. You can throw 35 trillion onto this. You can just mentally imagine how much more value there's going to be there. But then you skip on over here to global stocks, and that's $143 trillion worth of global stocks. Well, you better believe every market in the world, whether it's the New York Stock Exchange or any other, the Nikkei, whatever, they're all going to want to do the same thing because they're not going to just let the New York Stock Exchange, enjoy the party, right? Heck, no, they're all going to get in on it, right? And once these rules of the road are established by the global reserve currency nation, which is the United States, then everybody will kind of follow so that they can interconnect, but then they're going to have their own little nuances for their own country, right? And how it works within their countries, which is how it always works. But that's not all there is to it. I mean, there's 600 trillion in real estate. And then there's other values in the world, like art, intellectual property, to name two more. Then there's a whole commodities, right? All these other things, of course, gold is a commodity, but other commodities. So there's a lot of value that's going to pour into the cryptocurrency market because everybody's going to want to tokenize. I mean, can you start to imagine in your mind why we're headed where we're headed? And if it's gold backed, it makes more sense. It's reliable money. Whereas the US dollar, we're not really hitting inflation right now. The problem with the affordability thing is that we've printed the dollar into oblivion. It's our own doing, the United States, our politicians, our people. We've allowed it. We need to fix this thing. And in fixing it here, that remedy will spread throughout the globe, much like the disease did. The disease of overprinting dollars and fiat. Well, we infected the world with our mismanagement of this. So now let's solve it. But the solution will require everybody to have a level playing field and equal stakeholders, so to speak, and equal in terms of equal per your GDP of your country. I think is kind of how it's going to flesh out. But I guess we'll see how it all runs. I think it's going to need to be fair if you're going to want to have other countries buy in. I believe they have because we just announced the electronic money transmitter license over in Luxembourg for EU. Great Britain, they announced their money transmitter licenses for Ripple and XRP, the RippleNet service. In the United States, I think they've got almost every state done already. I think they do. I think they've got all those money transmitter licenses. I'm not sure. I think they have one in Japan and Singapore also, and I believe South Korea, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where we're headed, guys, and that's why we're going into tokenizing metals and everything else. Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and bookmark. We'll see you guys on the next one. Till next time, adios, amigos.